Understand your agents, your agency against yourself. No different than if somebody was doing business in your name. No matter where they go around the world, they sign that name that don't belong to them. Why do you think persons that are called black, Negroes, and coloreds can't vote unless every second praetor of the corporation after the Senate of the House of Rome decides whether they want their cattle to vote with them names that belong to them? Why do you think it only applies to persons who think they're minorities? It doesn't apply to other human beings around the world. It only applies to persons who insist on trying to be somebody that they're not. And no matter how many generations that takes place, they're dead in law. That's what makes you a corpse. That's where the ens legis comes from. Do you understand? That's the 14th Amendment person. And that's why they gave the corpse the word person with the 14th Amendment. So then people get confused who can't read law. They see this a person and don't know a corporation's a person's too. And so they send them statements of account in the mail with capital letters on it, which means person, corporation, and then you agree to be the corpse. And so as soon as you start making an argument, you're already dead in the view of the law, and because you accept it as a bill, which it isn't, you're obligated to pay. When actually it should be discharged, because you're under occupation. Of course, if you didn't know that, you're going to act like you're a debtor. Do you see the problem? You see the problem? Clearfield doctrine. Go ahead.
Well, I got a question.
Go ahead.
So the corporations have been given the rights of people.
14th Amendment. In other words, when they did the spurious 14th Amendment, which was actually set up by field marshals, this was a disguise. See, because when you go into, you know, like our people are familiar when you talk about 40 acres and a mule. If you ask them to set some substance around it, informationally, most of them couldn't tell you.
That racist white man is mule. I want my mule. I want my 40 acres.
Ask them the substance around it, they can't tell you, which makes them incompetent. Now we're dealing with the 3630 parallel. We're dealing with, they would have had to give us, repatriate the people on the land between the Rockies and the Allegheny Mountains, and they recognized that they would have given most of the land back. So they bumped off Lincoln, covered that up, etc., created the 14th Amendment, and created the artificial corpse person. Then they needed some nigger marching preachers to convince you to be people of color, which means artificial persons, and make you think it means Afrocentricity. And you agreed to be 14th Amendment persons, which is listed as called U.S. citizen.
So what do you say about the people who try to use their corporate or their corp status as a tool and try to gain the advantages of a corporation would have?
Well, when natural persons do that, they have a consciousness of the secret treaty of Verona and the Spanish Inquisition, which is the real political background that's operating in the world, and particularly in North America. And so they're reclaiming the estate or the access to the estate, although they didn't create it, to have some cognate control over it. That's what that's about. Okay. And so usually they will authenticate the birth certificate, which is where the priesthood, the dark priesthood, the people our people trust, that told them separation of church and state, they're agents for Rome. You can go in any poor community, you go, before you get 3 blocks that way, before you get 3 or 4 blocks that way, before you get 3 or 4 blocks that way, before you get 3 or 4 blocks that way, you'll find a spy center. And they fund them themselves. They think it has something to do with Jesusness. They're spy centers, and they belong to the Jesuits of Rome, actually. And you're funding your own enslavement. Our people think Christianity means Jesusness. It means Constantine. The Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed is the official name of what is presented to you as Christianity. And it belongs to the popes of Rome. It's a business hegemony system. And the skull and bones agreement for the marching Negro leader guys who you think don't know this stuff is called a 501c3 agreement. And because our people don't read and they don't understand,
And see, that's the 501c3. That's what the preachers get for teaching the word.
they do. These so-called intelligent people that know God, Jesus, Allah, and Muhammad and everything.
Yeah, man. See, because when you teach the word, you get a 501c3 agreement. See, and then the tithing is 10% for God's word.
That 10% tax is Roman tax from Pope Sylvester II. You know, our people are so out to damn lunch. And the real horrible thing is that people you've trusted have been putting this on you and your generations, and this is where your suffering comes from. It really is. Come from the dark priesthood that you think love godness and Jesusness.
God,
Yes.
back to his question.
Going back to the brother's question
ahead.
here, what I'd like to know, is it practical to try to straddle the fence based on the question that he
Good
asked?
question. Say that again for everybody. Is it practical?
to straddle the fence?
All right.
Based on my understanding of what his question was.
Well, let's put it this way, and we'll qualify it too. I think it's long been stated that you can't serve two masters,
Absolutely.
and that's called straddling the fence. It's quite difficult because you give jurisdiction trying to claim jurisdiction. Therefore, you must be clear on jurisdiction. This is why we've always taught jurisdiction. The nature of jurisdiction, the structure of jurisdiction, the trinity of jurisdiction, status, jurisdiction venue, then adjudication. Then there's what? How many types of jurisdiction? 3 in general, although there's 4, but in general 3.
Subject matter.
In personam jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction. Therefore, you must know the aggregate. You must know nation states, because they know our people don't know that. And so when you talk about territorial jurisdiction,
They said, yeah, I was in Jersey last week.
what? You wasn't.
Yes, I was.
This is a corporation created on paper.
You know, you can't drive in Maryland.
Well, Maryland is a corporation. It's on paper. So you must talk about the aggregate land. That's why you got to start claiming your land. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Our people need to know the difference between corporations and the natural living, breathing beings and the organic land. And if you don't have claim on the land, then they put you in the corporation because you're listed as a corpse. That's why when they do those licenses, they put all capital letters because it's in the ens legis. Point. But this is what I say. This is what I say. As an example, people, Asiatics and Europeans too, and probably mostly Europeans because the middle class is being dissolved, so they're starting to expose more stuff. How many of you are aware of Lincoln Heights and some other townships or places in Ohio, and there's other places they ain't mentioned too around the country where they shut down the police departments. They had to park the cars. You know why? People starting to learn. They're starting to go after them bonds. And they start putting these people first person. They don't say the police department did it to me. They said Freddie Johnson doing business as a policeman without a bond was messing with me. And they tried to get me to pay a ticket. But I went in there and told the magistrate who pretended to be a judge, I came to get paid. Everybody else was paid. What's up? It's a securities. Isn't it? So this is more like less what's happening. But that's how you're supposed to look at it. Because it's an estate. That's how you... So you're not so much serving two masters. You need to understand you have an estate that they've been hiding and controlling under color of law. Go ahead. So that fine line, so this is what we're doing. We're trying to clarify things so that people can make the distinction between the fine line. Because it's easy to step over the line. Because you got to know the difference between person and person. It's a nuance, isn't it? And so what happens if these persons don't know the organic person from the corpse. Well, I'm Frankie, and I want a peanut butter sandwich. You know, or just like you said up here as an example, we can put an organic plant up here with dirt in it, growing nicely, and then we can get this plastic plant from Kmart and tell the people, come up here, we're going to test everybody, come water the plants. And then we'll see who puts water in both of them. And you know the one who puts water in both of them is either an imbecile or they're a minority. They got the mentality of a minor. That person cannot present themselves. They would be represented by a barrister from England because apparently they got the mind of a minor. They'd be listed as a minor, particularly if they start talking about human beings with crayons. First indicator. So we got to clean that mess up for real, because that's what's messing our people up. Partially, it's other things, but those things are keys. And those are code systems that the European quickly tells who his property is. Because a human being will never dishonor his mother and his father, for he recognizes his pedigree. So you'll never see a Chinese come up here and talk about where's the light-skinned yellow guy's organization. Never happened. He ain't giving up his birthright. So when you see grown people, what I'm telling you, know, my light-skinned black girlfriend, that's property. And they confess it out their own mouth. Who you? Joey Smith. And I'm Christian too. Oh, all right. Black codes, and then they get mad. That's what the black codes are for.
So,
Such persons outside of human family. However, it doesn't apply to nationals. That's why you see nationals come from around the other parts of the world. That crap don't apply to them. So they're not burdened with that nigger tax. Are we clear? And it's structured right in society. It's not even hidden. It is just these people, they're hard-headed. You tell them that human beings aren't crayon? Uh-huh. My uncle's black. Yes? Well, you can take them right to a dictionary. Heritage Dictionary, and you'll see black is Middle English. It don't go past 1100. And then somebody telling you ancient black anything, then they'll say derived from Old High German. Then they'll tell you it means pale and shining. Ain't got nothing to do with complexion. I'm black. Oh, you're a Paleolithic man? Because that's where it comes from. Paleolithic man is German. Our people can't even read. You know, so no, somebody who's taking advantage of you is not going to argue with you. They're going to say, Ritalin. I'm serious. And so the codes apply, and then when they enforce the code, then we will call them racist. Well, race is called the species. I think the human species is called the race, and the human race is broken down into multiple families called nations. You can go to the United Nations, you can go on the World Courts, you can go to Philadelphia, and you'll see the flags that represent the nations of the earth. And I say the green people and the purple people and the light skin, orange skin, pinstripe people, and don't matter what color you are flag. The only people think that are people who have the mentality of children. Of course, they need to be represented by a man, particularly whose name they use in any daggone way. And they're going to tell you about their special personal connection with God and Jesus-ness. All right, anyway, go ahead.
So,
Get the point, y'all?
right on.
Go ahead.
So acting in propria persona, in your proper person, claiming,
That sets up a foundation that doesn't cure.
okay,
In other words, what we're doing, this is what we're doing. This is basically what we're doing. We're cleaning the dirty table so that you can begin to eat.
gotcha.
It doesn't mean that you're qualified. It's cleaning the foundation. That foundation in law is referred to as honor versus dishonor. The principle in the common law that trumps the ens legis is the honor of your mothers and your fathers. That means the recognition of your bloodline. Therefore, honor your mothers and your fathers that your days may be longer upon the earth land. That translates into what is known as the common law. And it trumps what is called the Roman law, the civil law, and other types of law. If you cannot make a claim, competent claim, to the connection of the heritage, customs, and traditions of your ancient mothers and fathers. That means you better know something about yourself. The common law is not recognized as having any attachment to you. Are we clear? This again makes it dangerous. This is again why we keep telling people, look at these terms in law books, because if you did, you would see your own violations. And you would recognize how your leader's been playing you and why they won't give you them kind of books.
They'll start talking about, you see, I spiritually was talking with my grandmom, and she just guided me to this.
What'd she say?
She spoke in tongues.
Oh, all right. That's not how things work in the real world. Are we clear? I'm serious. The world ain't going to take you serious. Let me tell you another thing. We're going to go not only how Abdullah will give you the etymology and the historical background of the transliterations of scripts. Those scholars who really know the truth know that the whole stories that they were reconstructed in about the 21st dynasty of Hikupta, etc., ignoring the other dynasties prior to that, which were all matriarchies. And this is when you begin the stories of the Jesus type thing that you get today, and the Abraham. It's totally contemporary. And if it's not given in its proper cosmological perspective, the world is put into darkness by ignorance and thinking that that's the beginning of the world. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so scholars really know this, but they won't tell that because the dogma systems that they have set up, which are really dogma systems, which is counterfeit religion, would collapse overnight. This is again why all your preachers are 99% of them in secret are Masons, while denying it publicly. Same thing with all your industrialists. Same thing with all your preachers, presidents, Tom Jefferson, all them. That's why they had Korans. Do you understand? Because they're dealing with the real history. They're not looking at it either spookily, either like, oh, praise Allah-ness. They're not really looking at it like you think they're looking at it. They're dealing with the reality. Why do you think all the Masonic orders, the Shriners, everybody got Moorish fezzes dressed in jewels and then turn around and act like they don't know who the Moors are?
Well, Moors is just another name. It goes with black and anything you want to go.
That's COINTELPRO operations. Because as soon as you start claiming the birthright, those instruments start dying. Are we clear? Because everything is based on trust and estate. It's not based on money. They stole your money. You forgot that the Christians came here to steal your gold and silver, which is the money. How many generations is it going to take you to figure that out? They're dealing with movements against your estate. Are we clear? Europeans can never be the creditors because they are not the source of the estate. They've been administering over your estate under occupational powers. Are we clear? So get that clear in your head. Go ahead, good brother.
So if you present yourself not as a minority, but as the executor of that trust.
Yeah, now, look at, oh, this is really good. So whenever we're talking executor, whenever we're talking creditor, those types of terms, keep this in mind. Those are simply designations. In argument, it must be refined to a specific identification of the claimant. Are we clear? So if you'll watch how a lot of times Europeans are using those terms because they're trying to, because the middle class is being, and it's pretty much already. They're just using this creditor-debtor argument just loosely out there, right? Well, guess what? An occupier of somebody else's estate can't damn be the creditor. Only one can be the creditor is the heir to the estate. And everybody else is a debtor. And they ain't Americans. How about that? So we got to clear this up, mustn't we? Huh? So now, so if you're going to argue creditor, the only creditor can be here in the Western Hemisphere, the Maghrib, is descendants of the Moors. You're standing on Morocco. And all of the estates and all of the instruments that the Europeans have created that have created those T-bonds, whether the birth certificates, marriage certificates, etc., on the bodies, have been hypothecated by the Pope under the Spanish Inquisition, enforced by the Secret Treaty of Verona, reinforced by the doctrine of discovery, and those instruments or bulls were directed at what? The aboriginal copper complexion people who are the Americans. That's why they start altering the dictionaries. Now, these Europeans say they Americans, all you got to do is take a copper penny in its natural form, not when they polished it, and put it on the back of your hand and tell them put one on his so you can see who the Americans is. He black, and black means pale. You better look it up in the dictionary. You understand? We're the copper complexion people. And it ain't ebony either. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so you better claim your estate, claim your birthright. Keep this in mind. As you're becoming conscious and you start doing these types of activities, and you'll see brothers and sisters, anybody who comes here that has anything to offer, always pay attention to everybody. Take what is good. But don't fail to look at everything etymologically. And you better have a historical background, because history and law goes together. And if you declare to the world one time in a legal argument that you're black, you just killed the rest of your argument. You cannot have a pure glass of water and pee in it and talk about it's only a little leak. Have some. No, I don't think so. I'm not thirsty. And this is what people do when they throw that black thing in there, try to act like it is equivalent to nationalities. Do you see any civilized people around the world start talking about they light-skinned, orange-skinned, green people, and don't matter what color you are when they're dealing with the issues of the nations of the earth? You don't see nobody doing that dizzy, crazy, minor-minded, imbecilic stuff but us. And then try to talk about it spiritual. And then wonder why you keep getting screwed. And then you have leader guys keep on trying to justify it, knowing that the issue is denationalization. Because if you don't transact business in the honor of your mothers and fathers, you, by your own actions, are declared a quote-unquote stateless person. Write that down. Go ahead, good brother.
Yeah, Brother Taj, so what you're saying is right on time, because I just applied for medical school, and they asked on the application things that I wasn't aware of before taking these classes. You know, I've been coming here for like 2 years now, and so like I was confronted directly with questions like, are you a citizen? You know, your race and all these things, and I'm abiding to my indigenous, my.
And they will make what you call fixed form, and the fixed forms. And understand that's made with the census thing with Carlos Linnaeus, Blumenbach, etc. And those are the code systems where they would describe their property. But they will usually have somewhere other. Now, you're supposed to already know that that's their out from a legal perspective. But if you don't know what to do with that, meaning that if you don't know law, you don't know that that's their legal out to allow you your right to make an affidavit and attach it to the instrument. See, but if you don't know law, you would never think of doing that. And then if you don't know who you are, you're not even going to go there.
But they trying to call me black when I'm light-skinned black.
You know, and all that's how we do. You know, and then they'll say, oh, well, I can't be, let me see, it's not Asian, it's not this, I'll just check one off. Oh, no, I don't know what that is. I ain't gonna check none of them off. Then they'll fill it in for you because you're incompetent. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is very important. And it's also important when it gets into those gray areas to be well informed of the international community, the International Proclamation on the Rights of a Child, International Proclamation on Human Rights, Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, and of course, Obama signed it to reinforce it because everybody else was ducking it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so keep this in mind. Obama, the tradition. The president and his wife is leaving the country, right? Going to another jurisdiction, all over the world. They're introduced together, correct? That's tradition, right? So Obama goes to Hikupta, which is Egypt, capital dominion of the Moorish Empire. Not accidental. Michelle goes to the Alhambra, last stronghold of the Moors before the Christians did the Pontifex, which is 1492, the overthrowing of Granada. Then they come back and they sign the rights of indigenous people. And then while he's in Egypt, he exposes to the world one of the best protected Masonic secrets. And he says the United States Constitution is derived from Muslim law. Then he goes into Article 11 of the Treaty of Tripoli. Of course, you all know, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. You hear the song, and he's sending codes. Then they come back and sign the rights of indigenous people, and you see him walking through the double doors with the Moorish flag big as day on the left of them. And then our people say, hey, Bama ain't did nothing for that, man. What do you mean? He's trying to get you to stop trying to be black, which puts you in the codes. It's an agreement. You can't transact business in another man's name, sign another man's name, and then take on a tag that he created that takes you out of the human family. The state cheats every damn thing you got. That's how they've been screwing you. And if you understand that much, just historically, the average person, you wouldn't have to tell them they're Moors. They'll find out themselves, take you to a child's dictionary and show you that they're Moors. I mean, well, go ahead, good brother.
So 2 more points. First, so the bill is going to be like $100,000, but they want money for it, which we're not dealing with money, and I'm the creditor.
So it's not so much that we're not dealing with money. You're dealing with estate. See, now, what we want to stop doing, what we really want to stop doing is stop making that statement that we're not dealing with money. Because we are dealing with money. We're dealing with the fact that they stole our money. And there is no such thing that when you start saying most of those statements come from Europeans that's trying to save the middle class. You know, that's like saying there is no dirt. Just because they took your dirt. They didn't take all of it. You still stand, what'd you stand on? Air, because they took our land. Well, what'd you stand on? No, they hypothecated. They made a claim, a legal claim, under color of law without physically possessing it. And most of them don't think they're going to live past 25, and they're not exactly wrong in considering that because their parents have abandoned them. And we can go on and on and on. Complete.
And the last point is with regards to this Ebola scare.
We want to remind everybody that United States Corporation Company, through its operatives, have a patent number on Ebola. So you don't patent something you didn't create. Continue.
So I know a lot of, I guess you'll call them patriots, or not even just patriots. Not even patriots. They're not even patriots.
Yes, they are.
Not of this land, though.
Yeah.
Not of this land.
The patriot term, the patres are those who are supporters of the popes of Rome. That's a term given to deputy knights and supporters of the hierarchy of the bishopric of Rome. So when you're talking about patriarchies, you're talking about service to the Pope, essentially from a political perspective, even though that may be taken connotatively. That's its relationship. If you're going to talk about Asiatic Africans, you're going to talk about matriarchy. So patriarchy or patriarchs don't exactly apply to us in this political form. Not that we can't be honor to our fathers in a sense, but in the context that has been used and applied, it's referring to essentially European males in support of the Christian hegemony. So that's the hegemony of Christendom operating in the world. And so you all look up the Christian hegemony. And what's against you is the Constantinian hegemony, which you have been told is called white supremacy. So we need to get to the root of what things really are so that you can have a better comprehension of what you're dealing with and what's been used against you. We need to stop guessing, and we need to know specifically what things are. Again, and I repeat, when you say citizen, you must name the nation state. It has no power by itself. So when they say U.S. citizen, that's a trap without qualification. You see? As an example, on the Moorish nationality card, when it says you're a citizen of the USA, what that means is unity, salvation, Allah. Unless you're told that, you might get twisted. And it should not be presented without qualification. But the nationality is more. The land is Morocco. The insignia of the Moorish nation is the pyramid with the eye of Allah at the top. Are we clear? Because that represents the activation of the pineal gland, or Illuminati. And so what you have is Europeans stealing your birthright, and so now they're claiming to be Illuminati, and you say, it's a devilness. And then you give up your birthright because you don't know the real history. And this is how they're ruling you. So they're simply governing over your estate. Think this, think this. How's somebody going to be in your house and they be the sovereign? Huh? So everything that they claim is a colorable claim. Color of office, color of authority, right? Color of law. Write down, and we told you before, look at this again, hypothecate, hypothecation. This is what's going on. The birth certificate, also, and notice how these things tie together for those who may not know. If you're talking about the marriage certificate that was set up by the DAR is the Daughters of American Revolution, which they have a building in Washington, you'll see it's all marble. Are we clear? Steps, everything, it's all marble. Daughters of American Revolution, they teach their sons with your science from the womb, applied science to the number 9, and prepare their sons to administer over your state. Their sons are called Kaiklos, Ku Klux Klan. Do you understand? And so all of them belong to the circle. They learn the real history, and we run around with beliefs that they told us about. And we think that we've arrived. And we keep getting in this game thinking that we're going to mess with them without knowing the real history, and they're occupying your land. Therefore, Europeans can never be the true sovereign. They can never be the true nobles. This is also why they hide and suppress the original article of Amendment 13 with its original 20 sections, of which Section 12 declares that the trade with Africa is forever prohibited on pain of death and the full forfeiture of the properties of all persons engaged therein. And the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. Why? How are you going to be a citizen of the corporate entity and persons who are occupying your land? Duh. Dred Scott issue? These fundamental things you need to get clear. Because in order to transfer the debt to you that they created under their false premises, they're going to ask you, are you a U.S. citizen? As soon as you say yeah, you accepted the debt. Are we clear?
And so my last point was, I was pondering that these people want the federal government to shut down the borders, as other nations have done. But I'm thinking that they cannot, and they've been lying to the people, giving them reasons why. Oh, CDC says it won't work, Obama says it won't work, but the real reason is because they really don't have the authority.
Exactly. Not just that, but look at this. When they do that, they're in violation of international law. Why? What do I just pass out to you? Clearfield Doctrine. We're talking about what is actually going on and trying to bring our people up to snuff so they can reason. So if you understand what's going on, you understand the politics. If they try to enforce that, they're in violation of international law, because these other beings are of nation states under international law. They're not light-skinned, orange-skinned, yellow people, and it don't no matter what color you are. They're Mexicans of the United States of America, Mexico. Brazilians. Estados Unidos do Brasil. United States of America, Brazil. These are the true Americans. They start talking trash, well, guess what? They can be brought to International Court of Law, to The Hague. Are we clear? They're trying to work this stuff out to keep us asleep while we keep playing halfway dumb. Still trying to get a piece of the action on this system that's already damn collapsed. Middle-class European, the wealthier of them, are denouncing their U.S. citizen. They ain't no U.S. citizen. They going and nationalizing elsewhere. So the IRS don't take the rest of their stuff. And our people still sleep looking for a J-O-B. It's called Job in the Bible. Long O, short O, Job. They're taking all your shit. Oh, yes, they are. House Joint Resolution 2847. Our people need to wake up. And we're doing the best that we can to get past the egos, the vanities, the clubism, because you don't have a lot of time. Because it's already crashed. They're just doing it. You got to give them credit for covering this stuff up really good. But they can't hold it out much longer. The reason why is because they can keep on printing the Federal Reserve notes to cover the frauds of the banks. But they can't make other nation states buy them bonds anymore. And that means that their war machine can't be funded. So this means their allies are going to start turning to China and India and Brazil. This is why they're doing that war. Their game is up. Meanwhile, our people think, I'm trying to be ESS because we want to march and pray on it. And they ain't woke up yet. And guess what? They're going to be eliminated. You can't serve two masters. You see, and it's like this. This European stuff is up, the argument's over. See, our people still have faith in Rome because they think they're getting paid. They ain't never damn been paid. Look at House Joint Resolution 192. You've been given what you would call commercial instruments and securities reference instruments, which is not money. Not only that, they've been foreclosing on you on it, and you can't foreclose on a security. Fraud. I mean, this is just, and the real deal is our people just don't understand stuff. They're not dumb, they're absent of information. Our job to do the best we can to get you this information as solidly as we can and as quickly as we can, hoping you study. Please. Because we're not going to be able to do this forever either. Because they're going to use the Ebola stuff and like that, and as people start getting, they're going to be what?
You can't come this area, see, because we found, see, in McDonald's over here, we found a patient that had Ebola.
And then the guy escorting them out with suits on, hazmat suits, right? And the other guy keeping notes and he ain't got crap on. But then you ain't caught on. It's a game. It's a justification. Good brother, good seeing you, man.
Hi, Taj, how you doing?
All right, family.
Questions?
Go ahead.
Have question, have statement. If you have a social security number and you're using a social security number, you are a citizen.
No, they say it. It don't make you that. It makes you a corpse. They're claiming it. They're claiming it. Don't make it so. And it's back to this whole deal. They're saying they created a fraud and imposed it upon you, and therefore it makes you a citizen. Well, what nationality is that?
Well,
No, back up. Let's back up. Because I already, with respect. Because we're going to have to clean this up. No different than they've set this premise.
You know, when you was a baby, you put your footprint on that instrument, and so you was born with a contract. That's not a contract. Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Some European can't take a baby's foot and put it on a stamp and say that baby made a contract. For anything to meet the laws that govern contracts, it must be competent. It must not be vague. There cannot be any disclosure. It can't be done by a minor. It must be substance for substance, cannot be vague, and it must have the signatures of two parties with a witness. Now you show me in them instruments got the signatures of two parties plus a witness. As a matter of fact, they call the mother an informant. Continue, good brother.
what I was saying.
Your mom sold you.
She said, 20 sandwiches. What's she doing speaking in tongues? Bull. There ain't no contract. Go ahead, good brother.
But people are buying and selling in that name.
Yes, they are.
And they're subjecting themselves to
No, but look. I'm not arguing that. This is what I'm saying. Before we go there, and I'm not dismissing what you're saying, we have to stop accepting the false premise that the Europeans have set up for us in that sovereignty argument, because they're still trying to claim a birthright and a sovereign right that is not their own. We must recognize that these are hypothecation instruments. An hypothecation instrument does not meet the law that governs contracts. We're not saying that these instruments don't exist. We're not saying that they're not used as if they are legitimate. I say this. Look at the Clearfield Doctrine, right? They say that they're government. Clearfield Doctrine say they're not. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You know, this is why whenever someone who begins to really understand the rules or the laws that govern contracts and trust, when they start contesting, this stuff falls apart and the banks and all them other suckers are declared as a fraud. They're just not enforcing everything because they are thoroughly corrupt. Are we clear? This is another reason why the world is dumping their T-bonds, because there is anything that has to do with economics under the U.S. corporation jurisdiction, there is no legitimate court. There is no justice. There is no remedy. Not because you're bound, because they're a fraud. But continue with due respect.
Well, okay. But we are buying and selling using their...
We can't buy because you can't pay.
Well, we are using their property.
Let's back up.
Okay.
They're using our property.
Is the social our property?
Europeans are occupying Morocco. The resources here belong to us. They've been hypothecating and claiming to be theirs. The rule by which they are to operate on our land is held by a covenant called the Constitution and Treaty. It is supreme law to land anything or any law of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. Any statutory codes that they've created that claim that is superior to the supreme law to land is nully. It's dead. And what I'm saying to you, I'm not dismissing what you're saying. I know what they're doing. But what I want us to stop doing is giving it a quality of obligatory principle that doesn't exist with it. It's a fraud that's being enforced under a color of law said only like that. If you or I say it's the quality of a contract, then you verified it as that. It isn't. It still doesn't meet the laws. It doesn't meet the laws that govern contracts. Therefore, we can't argue it as a contract. We can only argue it as an imposition of a security. And a commercial paper and a security that's presented and constructed under fraud. Under the law that governs contract, it is not binding. It's only enforced by force of arms. That's how it must be presented, because that's in fact the truth.
But isn't it not true that there are more than one constitution?
Yes, that 1871, that's what we're talking about. And that doesn't make it valid. See, this is the deal. You can't use the law or the covenant from which an office is drawn or authorized against itself. You can't use the power of the Constitution to rule against itself. It's neutered.
But didn't the 14th Amendment create another constitution, a corporate constitution?
Clearfield Doctrine, you got it right in your hand. And it's based on that very thing. Like I said, this is what next time we come, look, this is what we're going to do. The next time we come,
let me just say
go ahead.
And if you're using the social, you're subject to
yes.
that jurisdiction.
Yes. Now,
and you do not fall under the republic, you're in the democracy.
Well, no one's under the republic because they overthrew the republic.
The republic still
Now,
exists.
now, aren't we declaring it?
It never left.
Yeah, no, when you claim to be more and you enforce the Constitution and treaty, you're supporting the republic. The opposition you have is the demo order of Delano Roosevelt, their coming out party.